Hi, Gary Stearman. It's good to be back in the year 2018. It's been a while since we've done a daily update, but we try. And today I want to talk to you about something that is really, I think, an amazing development going into 2018. When we read Ezekiel 38, which prophecy teachers have been reading now for the last 4 or 5 decades, if not more, about Gog, the land of Magog. And I want to just refresh your mind a little bit. Ezekiel 38:1, where Ezekiel says, "The word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, chief prince of Meshech, Tubal, prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal." And what follows, those of you who study prophecy will be well aware of the invasion from the north, in fact, from the uttermost parts of the north into national Israel. Now, here's the thing. Gog, who is he? People have been speculating about this literally for centuries, but I've got a kind of a fascinating montage of videos upcoming here. From Fox News, I'm reading about something that happened on January 19th of 2018 on a Friday, Epiphany Friday, about 250 miles north of Moscow at an ancient Russian Orthodox church. Russian President Vladimir Putin continued the tradition of stripping down to the waist in public Friday when he took a dip in the freezing waters of an icy lake to celebrate Orthodox Christian ritual, the Orthodox Christian ritual called Epiphany. State television showed Putin, and by the way, Putin is now 65, looking good. What a physique. And he stripped down and basically walked into the edge of a frozen lake. And again, this is called Lake Seliger, which is 250 miles north of Moscow. In January, he completely immerses himself, and then he comes up, and we're going to show a cut of him, walking down to the lake, and watch the way he does it. He's very serious about it. He could have just sort of taken a quick run through the water, but no, he goes all the way under the water in Lake Seliger. He comes up, and he is met by priests at this ancient Russian Orthodox monastery. Now, following that act, he was interviewed by a clack of reporters. Who knows where they were from, but they were Russian news reporters eagerly seeking his comments about this baptism on Epiphany.
Вы обычно отмечаете этот праздник в небольших храмах, сельских городах, а сегодня вот почему-то решили в северной столице снегать. Почему вы отошли от традиции, почему именно в этом соборе?
Для меня это особый собор. Меня здесь крестили. Где-то месяца через 1,5 после рождения. Мы же здесь недалеко жили. Ну, собственно говоря.
А вы помните хотя бы вот какое-то вот воспоминание у вас есть, того, как вас крестили? Или
Нет,
мама рассказывала?
Нет, ну что, конечно, нет. Мне было 1,5 месяца. Мама рассказывала, но тоже немного, совсем немного. Рассказывала, что когда вот они, соседка меня принесли сюда крестить, отец у меня был членом КПСС, и причем таким последовательным и строгим человеком. Они это сделали как бы втайне от него. Ну, во всяком случае, считалось, что втайне. Вот когда принесли на крещение, то священник, который крестил, сказал, что вот сегодня день Архангела Михаила. И, кстати, говорит, и меня зовут тоже Михаилом. И если вы ребенку имя еще не дали, то могли бы назвать ее Михаилом. Но мама сказала, что вот мы уже зарегистрировали в честь отца Владимир. И тоже мама сказала, что он такой добрый был, мягкий. Батюшка говорит, ну и слава Богу, и хорошо, это наше старинное русское имя. Показал икону здесь в храме князя Владимира, святого князя Владимира. Говорит, это будет ваша икона. Вот. А потом, уже гораздо позже, когда мои родители ушли из жизни, здесь отпевали маму сначала, а потом через год с небольшим и папу. Так что с этим храмом у меня многое связано.
Все-таки в Рождество.
Well, I think you'll agree with me. That was a fascinating interview. It showed a passion, if you will, for religion that goes all the way back to Vladimir Putin's baptism as an infant. And it tells us a lot about his relationship with his father, a very serious member of the Russian Communist Party. Is Vladimir Putin the richest man in the world today? I'm reading here from Investopedia. That's the title of their article. And they write a number of compelling but unsubstantiated reports over recent years have suggested that the Russian President Vladimir Putin has secretly amassed a personal fortune of $200 billion. Now, that's only an estimate, maybe more, maybe less. I suspect more. Someone in his position, yes, his net worth absolutely puts to shame people like Bill Gates, who only has $77 billion. And there are a number of other very, very wealthy people in the world who don't even come close to Vladimir Putin. By the way, did you ever think of him as an oil man? Well, he is. He has shares in Russian oil and gas companies, a 4.5% stake in the gas giant Gazprom in Russia. Also, he owns 37% of an oil company which I may not be able to pronounce. It's called Surgutneftegas, long word, but what that means is lots of money in English. And he prides himself on his possessions. Now, we're reading about the current Gog of the land of Magog. If you go back to Ezekiel 38, that is the military and also the monetary leader of Russia. Often painted in the press, writes Investopedia, as a modern-day Tsar, Vladimir Putin is renowned to a great degree for his possessions. A yacht named Olympia. By the way, it's worth $35 million, a cheapie. A $1 billion palace on the Black Sea. How about that? An extravagant watch collection. He is said to own the world's highest-priced watch collection, which includes a turbograph watch made by Lange & Söhne, which happens to be a Swiss company. By the way, that watch is valued at $500,000. I don't think I'll be wearing one of those soon. But we're talking here about Vladimir Putin. He would be the biblical Gog today. And I want to read again about Gog. Thus saith the Lord God, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. Now, whether Vladimir Putin is the actual Gog of the Bible, we don't know. He is the current leader of Russia. But God has a few words here. Behold, I will turn thee back, put hooks into thy jaws, and I'll bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses, horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields. In other words, this would be a fully equipped army. And, of course, we've read about the allies of that Russian army, Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, Gomer, Togarmah, et cetera, et cetera. Togarmah of the North Quarters interests me, but that's the last mention of a list of allies. Who would Togarmah of the North Quarters be? Well, Togarmah is the ancient name for Turkey. And I have here a few more choice clips that I'd like to read, because just to the south of Russia, in fact, just to the south of the Black Sea, is the country of Turkey. And it's run today by Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who is, if anything, he is competing, I think, for the title most evil man in all the world. He recently made a speech in which he quoted an ancient Arabic poem, which translated into English says this: "The mosques are our barracks. The domes are our helmets. The minarets are our bayonets. And the faithful are our soldiers." Wow. That pretty much says it for me about his feelings concerning Islam. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has taken control of 6 Christian churches in war-torn southeastern Diyarbakir in Turkey in the latest move to squash freedom. What he's doing is systematically taking charge of anything that could be seen as opposition. He's putting himself on a war footing. He is arming at an incredible rate. Turkey is becoming the ancient dream of Islam. It's becoming the leader of the great caliphate. Included in the seizures that he has lately pulled off are Catholic, Protestant, and Orthodox churches, one of which had been in constant operation for 1,700 years. That goes back to, 300 years after the Apostle Paul spread the gospel in that region. You read about Turkey in the Bible, by the way, when you read about the churches of Galatia and the churches that he covered on his first, second, and third missionary journeys. And so what we have here is Recep Tayyip Erdogan threatening, essentially, to destroy everything that has been built up in that region for the last couple thousand years. He wants to take charge of it all. By the way, in a recent speech, Recep Tayyip Erdogan portrayed himself to Western leaders as a kind of a pragmatist. You know, fellows, you can work with me. I'm very glad to make peace with the West. But what he really did, in a kind of a surreptitious fashion, was talk about Israel. And I quote, "Those who think they own Jerusalem better know that tomorrow they won't be able to hide behind the trees," Erdogan said. Now, that's a reference to an ancient Islamic poem that speaks of Jews hiding from Arabs behind trees, and the trees calling out saying, "There's a Jew behind me, come kill him." And so there's an amazing hypocrisy in Erdogan's speeches lately. Now, I want to conclude today with a statement. And how do you put all this together? We started with a view of maybe the richest man in the world, who from the movie sequences that we watched earlier seems to be a genuinely religious man. Is proud of his Christianity, wears a big gold cross. We see him, and we see him, if you will, and we see him, if you will, finagling deals with the likes of Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Let me read this from the Institute for the Study of War. A recent publication said this about Turkey. Turkey is using a combination of military and diplomatic pressure to compel Russia and Islam to halt further offensive operation against Syria's al-Qaeda-dominated Idlib province. An Assad Iranian-Russian conquest of Idlib is not in America's national security interest. The U.S. should help Turkey block these operations and must do so without accepting Turkey's willingness to work with al-Qaeda and without submitting to Russia's sham diplomatic track to negotiate an end to the Syrian war. The U.S. must instead retain freedom of action and avoid the temptation to outsource American national security requirements to regional actors already at war in Syria. Are you confused? I'm watching all this. I'm chuckling in the same spirit as the second psalm. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? Kings of the earth set themselves. The rulers take counsel together against the Lord, against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast their cords from us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. And that's Psalm 2, verses 1 through 3. And the vision I have of the Lord sitting in the heaven and laughing at men who are plotting and planning to take their cut out of planet Earth. And we've just read about a couple of men today, Vladimir Putin and Prime Minister, if you will, Erdogan of Turkey. We've read about these men plotting and planning, vast wealth, great political pull, impassioned by religion, by the way. Erdogan could not be more passionately Islamic. Vladimir Putin could not be more passionately Christian. It's amazing to me to watch these things unfold. But again, something to think about as we look at Bible prophecy going into the year 2018. I'm Gary Stearman. Have a great day in the Lord, and keep watching. We are. Thanks for joining us on Prophecy Watchers. You can find us on the web at prophecywatchers.com, where you can sign up for our free email newsletter. In the meantime, keep watching, everybody, and we'll see you soon.